Hello everyone, and welcome back to Basic English Conversation. In this video, we're going to get started on part 2 of Unit 2, which is going to be about grammar, okay? So, I hope that you have a pen or pencil and some paper ready to take some notes, because this video is going to have a lot of grammar in it, okay? It's not difficult, I promise, but you will want to write down some information. All right, let's get started. All right, so this is, again, Unit 2, which is called Out of the Past, okay? So the grammar that we're going to learn is it's about the past, okay? We'll be learning all about learning past simple, or the simple past tense, okay? So we're going to learn about the past simple tense and practice using it and learn how to use it in many different sentences. You're going to learn about using there was and there were in the singular and plural forms, and how to make sentences with that and ask questions. And also, you will learn about the difference between some and any and how to use those in sentences. Okay, but first, we are going to watch a video, okay? This video has an interesting example for you and shows you kind of what we're going to learn today in our lesson. All right, so get ready to watch.
Hello! Let me tell you about my trip to France. Last weekend, my parents and I took a trip. We left New Haven, England to travel to Dieppe, France. We traveled in a ship called a ferry. It took about 4 hours to get to France. It was sunny and cool. The sea wasn't rough. We had a pleasant journey. We arrived in Dieppe. We saw lots of fishing boats. We walked on a rocky beach. Then we were hungry, so we ate seafood. The next day, we saw this castle, and I ate this delicious roll. But we weren't lucky on the journey back. The weather was stormy. I didn't feel very well. But I enjoyed going to France. Bye!
Which language does the vlogger use? We use the past simple to talk about actions that happened in the past. Some verbs are irregular, like see.
We saw lots of fishing boats.
The past tense of be is was or were.
It was sunny and cool. We were hungry.
To form the negative past simple, we use did not plus the infinitive without to.
I didn't feel very well.
With the verb be, we use was or were plus not.
The sea wasn't rough. We weren't lucky on the journey back.
To form questions, we use did plus infinitive without to. Did she feel well? Yes, she did. No, she didn't. With the verb be, we use was or were. Was it a cool day? Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Were the people hungry? Yes, they were. No, they weren't. Use it. Watch the video and complete the sentences using the past simple. It was rainy. Now you try. They had breakfast this morning. They didn't feel tired. Did they travel by plane? No, they didn't.
Okay, so the first thing that we really should answer is the question, what is the past simple tense? Well, it is very simple, okay? It's very simple, so remember that this is not difficult, okay? And I think that you will be able to understand it, okay? Past simple tense is used when we talk about something that happened once or several times in the past. Or for something that was true for some time in the past. So let's look at some examples. So here we have a question that requires us to answer in the simple past tense. So as you can see here, the question is, what did you do yesterday? Okay, yesterday is in the past, so our answer must use simple past tense. Okay, I taught students is one answer. I watched a YouTube video. And I talked to my friends. Past tense is, or simple past, is mostly a subject plus a verb and ed. Okay, and you can see that right here with the verb watched and talked. It has ed as the ending, and this means past tense. Taught is an irregular past tense verb, which means it doesn't use ed. Past tense is usually formed by adding ed to a verb. However, there are many irregular verbs, okay, that don't use ed. And here you can see a small list of these verbs, okay, and you can see here we have the be verb. It doesn't use ed. It changes to was or were. Okay, we have a few more. Let's look at, buy becomes bought, right? Come changes to came. Do and did. These are all irregular verbs, so they don't use ed. The only way to learn these is actually to memorize these words and their special endings. So yes, it takes some time, but if you memorize them, then you can easily use the past tense. So past simple tense is used when we talk about something that happened once in the past. Okay, for example, I met my wife in 2005. Or we went to Vietnam for our holidays. Okay, or they watched a movie last night. All of these things happened once in the past. Past simple tense is also used when we talk about something that happened several times in the past. So, for example, when I was a boy, I walked a mile to school every day. Or, we swam a lot while we were on holiday. Okay, and these examples here, they happened several times in the past. So you can also use simple past tense or to talk about things that happened several times. Past simple tense is also used when we talk about something that was true for some time in the past. Okay, for example, I lived abroad for 10 years. Okay, or he enjoyed being a student. So this would mean that it's true in the past, but maybe not true right now. So we can use the past tense to talk about these things. Okay, so now we're going to learn about how to make questions in the simple past tense. All right, it's very easy. So you can see with this chart here that we use did, the word did, to make questions in the past simple tense. So here you can see we have did, and then or did I, or did you, did we, okay? So did and then a pronoun and then the verb. So you can put any verb there. Did I see or did I hear? Any verb is okay. Here we have a few examples, okay? So you can see here, we put the verb in red, and you can see that there is no ed here. Did we went to the store is incorrect because did is the past tense. So you don't need to put ed in a past tense question, okay? It is not necessary. Questions that start with who often don't use did. Okay, so we have some examples here, like who played the game or who opened the box. For these questions, you need ed when you're asking because you're not using the word did. All right, so here you can see that question words like when, what, or where, they go before did to make a question. Okay, so they're the first word in the sentence. So, for example, when did he listen to the song? Where did they watch a movie? Why did we go yesterday? These are all examples of questions in past tense. In the past tense, we can also form negatives by using didn't or did not. Okay? And you can use the contraction here, didn't, is a more natural way of speaking, but if you don't like to do that, then did not is okay. Let me erase the marker there. All right, so here we have another chart, okay, and you can see the pronouns here, okay, followed by didn't. So I didn't, and then a verb, right here. Again, you don't need ed because of did not. So you can see some examples here. They didn't go travel this year. Or we didn't watch a movie. Or I didn't see you yesterday. All of these verbs, go, watch, and see, don't have ed. And see does not change to went, okay, because of did. It's already in past tense. All right, it's also important to remember that be verbs in the simple past, there's two be verbs for past tense, okay? And it changes depending on the pronoun. So look at the chart here. You can see there the first pronoun is I, and the be verb is was. But you does not use was. It's you were, okay? And you should try to remember, okay, that you, we, and they all use were as their be verb. So that is an important thing to remember so that you don't make the mistake in the future of saying you was or we was, okay? So just try to remember that. All right, so now we're going to do a listening practice exercise. You can find this on page 25 of your book. All right, so first I want you to listen and write the answers in your book, okay? And then you can look up at the screen and you can check your answers. All right, so let's go ahead and listen.
Unit 2, Track 5.
On the 6th of September 1620, 102 people left England to travel 4,500 kilometres to the USA. They didn't agree with some of the religious views in Europe at that time, so they decided to start a new life. They travelled in a ship called the Mayflower, and the journey took 66 days. The first half of the journey went well. Then the weather changed and it was very cold and stormy. People became ill and some of them didn't survive. In December they arrived in Plymouth Bay. They didn't know anything about this new land, but the local Wampanoag people helped them to find food and build houses.
Okay, so let's check our answers here. The first answer is they didn't agree. Number 2, they decided. Number 3, they traveled. Next, took. Next, went. Next, changed. Was, didn't survive, arrived, didn't know, and helped.
Hello! Today I want to practice my presentation for history class. It's about the Viking exhibition. Who were the Vikings? The Vikings were people who lived around 1,000 years ago. They lived in Scandinavian countries like Denmark and Sweden. They travelled by ship to Iceland and England, and even to the Middle East. The Vikings weren't peaceful. They raided villages and stole things. The exhibition showed many different objects. There was a Viking ship, and there were some coins. There was a photo of the kind of long house the Vikings lived in, but there wasn't any information about what they ate. There weren't any Viking hats because they didn't actually wear those. They did have Viking hats in the gift shop though. It was an interesting exhibition. I hope you liked my presentation. Let me know in the comments. That's all. Bye!
Which language does the vlogger use? We use there was or there were to talk about situations in the past.
There was a Viking ship. There were some coins.
The negative past tense of be is wasn't or weren't.
There wasn't any information about what they ate. There weren't any Viking hats.
Notice the word order for questions. Was there a Viking ship at the exhibition? Yes, there was. No, there wasn't. Were there any coins at the exhibition? Yes, there were. No, there weren't. We use some and any with plural countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Use it. Look at the picture. Then say if the sentences are true or false. There was a mirror. True. Now you try. There weren't any spoons. True. There were some pillows. True. There weren't any scissors. False.
Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed the video and that you could follow along with the history presentation and how the speaker used there was and there were. So let's talk a little bit about how to use there was and there were correctly. So the verb be is often used in the past tense with the word there. Okay, was and were is a be verb. Okay, you can see here there was is singular, which means when it's about one thing, and there were is plural, which means you use there were when there's many things or more than one thing. Okay, to make a negative form of there was or there were, add not to was or were. Okay, so for example, there was not or wasn't. For plural, there were not or weren't. To make a question, put was or were before there. Okay, so for singular questions, you would say, was there? Or wasn't there if it's a negative question. Were there for the plural, or weren't there if it's a negative question. All right, the video also talked about any and some. Well, this is a little bit difficult to understand at first. I think that you can understand it after listening to this explanation and seeing some of the things that I will show you. So let's get started. We use any and some to talk about amounts of things. Okay? It's about the amount of something. So generally, we use some in positive sentences and any in negative sentences and questions. Okay? So if you look at this example, you can see that just some and any changes depending on if it's positive or a negative sentence or question. So the first one is, there was some cake. That is positive. And there wasn't any cake. That is negative. And was there any cake is a question. So you can see that usually some is for positive and any is for negative sentences. Okay, any can be used in some positive sentences too. For example, okay, any score above 80 is good, or anything will be good. That's a positive sentence. So I think maybe you might be wondering, what is the rule about any and some? Well, we use some for talking about a limited number or amount, okay, if it's limited. And we use any for an unlimited number or amount. Okay? So, for example, I like any kind of cake. It means all kinds of cake, unlimited. Okay? I don't like any kind of cake. Means 0 kinds of cake, also unlimited. Okay? I like some kinds of cake. Means a limited number of the kinds of cake. Okay? And I don't like some kinds of cake. Means a limited number of kinds of cake. Okay? So all of these sentences are actually the same. I like or I don't like, but any and some changes about the different kinds of cake. Is it limited or unlimited? Okay, so that is the rule. Maybe it's a little bit difficult, but you can watch this video again and really start to understand it. Okay, so this is the final activity for this lesson. Okay, and you can find it on page 27 in your book. It's called Did You Know? All right, so you can follow along with me here. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to follow me, follow my speaking, try to guess the answers with in this activity. If you want, you can pause the video and think and try to guess the answers. All right, so let's get started on number 2. Number 2, there wasn't an alphabet with letters in Aztec times. Number 3, there were some university courses for students in Oxford in 1095. Number 4, there weren't any forks for eating food in ancient Greece. And number 5. There was a famous Roman emperor called Apicius. All right, everyone. Very good job. Thank you so much for following this lesson, okay? If you don't understand anything, go and look at it again, all right? It's a lot of grammar, so I understand if it was a little bit confusing, but go and watch it again, okay? And of course, send an e-class message to me or your teacher and ask them if you don't understand, okay? Always ask for help. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Check e-class for assignments, and I will see you soon. See you next time.